1 minute away.
I wonder if Hillary is like backstage just buffering, or maybe.
Good evening from Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York. I'm Lester Holt, anchor of NBC Nightly News. I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. The participants tonight are Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. The commission drafted tonight's format, and the rules have been agreed to by the campaigns. The 90-minute debate is divided into 6 segments, each 50 minutes long. We'll explore 3 topic areas tonight: achieving prosperity, America's direction, and securing America. At the start of each segment, I will ask the same lead-off question to both candidates, and they will each have up to 2 minutes to respond. From that point until the end of the segment, we'll have an open discussion. The questions are mine and have not been shared with the commission or the campaigns. The audience here in the room has agreed to remain silent so that we can focus on what the candidates are saying. I will invite you to applaud, however, at this moment as we welcome the candidates. Democratic nominee for President of the United States, Hillary Clinton, and Republican nominee for President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Good luck to you. Mr. Trump, good luck to you. Well, I don't expect us to cover all the issues of this campaign tonight, but I remind everyone there are 2 more presidential debates scheduled. We are going to focus on many of the issues that voters tell us are most important, and we're going to press for specifics. I am honored to have this role, but this evening belongs to the candidates and just as important to the American people. Candidates, we look forward to hearing you articulate your policies and your positions, as well as your visions and your values. So, let's begin. We're calling this opening segment Achieving Prosperity, and central to that is jobs. There are 2 economic realities in America today. There's been a record 6 straight years of job growth, and new census numbers show incomes have increased at a record rate after years of stagnation. However, income inequality remains significant, and nearly half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Beginning with you, Secretary Clinton, why are you a better choice than your opponent to create the kinds of jobs that will put more money into the pockets of American workers?
Well, thank you, Lester, and thanks to Hofstra for hosting us. The central question in this election is really what kind of country we want to be and what kind of future we'll build together. Today is my granddaughter's 2nd birthday, so I think about this a lot. First, we have to build an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. That means we need new jobs, good jobs, with rising incomes. I want us to invest in you. I want us to invest in your future. That means jobs in infrastructure, in advanced manufacturing, in innovation and technology, clean renewable energy, and small business, because most of the new jobs will come from small business. We also have to make the economy fairer. That starts with raising the national minimum wage and also guarantee, finally, equal pay for women's work. I also want to see more companies do profit sharing. If you help create the profits, you should be able to share in them, not just the executives at the top. And I want us to do more to support people who are struggling to balance family and work. I've heard from so many of you about the difficult choices you face and the stresses that you're under. So let's have paid family leave, earned sick days, Let's be sure we have affordable child care and debt-free college. How are we going to do it? We're going to do it by having the wealthy pay their fair share and close the corporate loopholes. Finally, we tonight are on the stage together, Donald Trump and I. Donald, it's good to be with you. We're going to have a debate where we are talking about the important issues facing our country. You have to judge us. Who can shoulder the immense, awesome responsibilities of the presidency? Who can put into action the plans that will make your life better? I hope that I will be able to earn your vote on November 8th.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump, the same question to you. It's about putting more money into the pockets of American workers. You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Lester. Our jobs are fleeing the country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to many other countries. You look at what China is doing to our country in terms of making our product. They're devaluing their currency, and there's nobody in our government to fight them. And we have a very good fight, and we have a winning fight, because they're using our country as a piggy bank to rebuild China, and many other countries are doing the same thing. So we're losing our good jobs, so many of them. When you look at what's happening in Mexico, a friend of mine who builds plants said it's the 8th wonder of the world. They're building some of the biggest plants anywhere in the world, some of the most sophisticated, some of the best plants. With the United States, as he said, not so much. So Ford is leaving. You see that, their small car division leaving. Thousands of jobs, leaving Michigan, leaving Ohio. They're all leaving, and we can't allow it to happen anymore. As far as child care is concerned and so many other things, I think Hillary and I agree on that. We probably disagree a little bit as to numbers and amounts and what we're going to do, but perhaps we'll be talking about that later. But we have to stop our jobs from being stolen from us. We have to stop our companies from leaving the United States, and with it, firing all of their people. All you have to do is take a look at Carrier Air Conditioning in Indianapolis. They fired 1,400 people. They're going to Mexico. So many, hundreds and hundreds of companies are doing this. We cannot let it happen. Under my plan, I'll be reducing taxes. That's going to be a job creator like we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan. It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. Companies will come, they will build, they will expand, new companies will start, and I look very, very much forward to doing it. We have to renegotiate our trade deals, and we have to stop these countries from stealing our companies and our jobs.
Secretary Clinton, would you like to respond?
Well, I think that trade is an important issue. Of course, we are 5% of the world's population. We have to trade with the other 95%. And we need to have smart, fair trade deals. We also, though, need to have a tax system that rewards work and not just financial transactions. And the kind of plan that Donald has put forth would be trickle-down economics all over again. In fact, it would be the most extreme version, the biggest tax cuts for the top percent of the people in this country than we've ever had. I call it trumped-up trickle-down, because that's exactly what it would be. That is not how we grow the economy. We just have a different view about what's best for growing the economy, how we make investments that will actually produce jobs and rising incomes. I think we come at it from somewhat different perspectives. I understand that. You know, Donald was very fortunate in his life, and that's all to his benefit. He started his business with $14 million borrowed from his father, and he really believes that the more you help wealthy people, the better off we'll be, and that everything will work out from there. I don't buy that. I have a different experience. My father was a small businessman. He worked really hard. He printed drapery fabrics on long tables where he pulled out those fabrics and he went down with a silk screen and dumped the paint in and took the squeegee and kept going. And so what I believe is the more we can do for the middle class, the more we can invest in you, your education, your skills, your future, the better we will be off and the better we'll grow. That's the kind of economy I want us to see again.
Let me follow up with Mr. Trump if I can. You've talked about creating 25 million jobs, and you've promised to bring back millions of jobs for Americans. How are we going to bring back the industries that have left this country for cheaper labor overseas? How specifically are you going to tell American manufacturers that you have to come back?
Well, for one thing, and before we start on that, my father Gave me a very small loan in 1975, and I built it into a company that's worth many, many billions of dollars with some of the greatest assets in the world. And I say that only because that's the kind of thinking that our country needs. Our country's in deep trouble. We don't know what we're doing when it comes to devaluations, and all of these countries all over the world, especially China, they're the best ever at it. What they're doing to us is a very, very sad thing. So we have to do that. We have to renegotiate our trade deals. And Lester, they're taking our jobs, they're giving incentives, they're doing things that, frankly, we don't do. Let me give you the example of Mexico. They have a VAT tax. We're in a different system. When we sell into Mexico, there's a tax. When they sell in automatic, 16% approximately. When they sell into us, there's no tax. It's a defective agreement. It's been defective for a long time, many years, but the politicians haven't done anything about it. Now, in all fairness to Secretary Clinton, yes, is that okay? Good. I want you to be very happy. It's very important to me. But in all fairness to Secretary Clinton, when she started talking about this, it was really very recently. She's been doing this for 30 years. And why hasn't she made the agreements better? The NAFTA agreement is defective just because of the tax and many other reasons, but just because of the fact.
Let me interrupt just a moment.
Secretary Clinton and others, politicians, should have been doing this for years, not right now because of the fact that we've created a movement. They should have been doing this for years. What's happened to our jobs and our country and our economy generally is, look, we owe $20 trillion. We cannot do it any longer, Lester.
Back to the question, though, how do you specifically bring back jobs? American manufacturers, how do you make them bring the jobs back?
Well, the first thing you do is don't let the jobs leave. The companies are leaving. I could name, there are thousands of them. They're leaving, and they're leaving in bigger numbers than ever. And what you do is you say, fine, you want to go to Mexico or some other country, good luck. We wish you a lot of luck. But if you think you're going to make your air conditioners or your cars or your cookies or whatever you make and bring them into our country without a tax, you're wrong. And once you say you're going to have to tax them coming in, and our politicians never do this because they have special interests, and the special interests want those companies to leave because in many cases they own the companies. So what I'm saying is we can stop them from leaving. We have to stop them from leaving, and that's a big, big factor.
Let me let Secretary Clinton get there.
Well, let's stop for a second and remember where we were 8 years ago. We had the worst financial crisis, the Great Recession, the worst since the 1930s. That was in large part because of tax policies that slashed taxes on the wealthy, failed to invest in the middle class, took their eyes off of Wall Street, and created a perfect storm. In fact, Donald was one of the people who rooted for the housing crisis. He said back in 2006, gee, I hope it does collapse because then I can go in and buy some and make some money. Well, it did collapse.
That's called business, by the way.
9 million people lost their jobs, 5 million people lost their homes, and $13 trillion in family wealth was wiped out. Now, we have come back from that abyss, and it has not been easy. So we're now on the precipice of having a potentially much better economy, but the last thing we need to do is to go back to the policies that failed us in the first place. Independent experts have looked at what I've proposed and looked at what Donald's proposed, and basically they've said this, that if his tax plan, which would blow up the debt by over $5 trillion and would in some instances disadvantage middle-class families compared to the wealthy, were to go into effect, we would lose 3.5 million jobs and maybe have another recession. They've looked at my plans and they've said, okay, if we can do this, and I intend to get it done, we will have 10 million more new jobs because we will be making investments where we can grow the economy. Take clean energy. Some country is going to be the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. Donald thinks that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. I think it's real.
I did not.
Science is real.
I do not say that.
And I think it's important that we grip this and deal with it, both at home and abroad. And here's what we can do. We can deploy 500 million more solar panels. We can have enough clean energy to power every home. We can build a new modern electric grid. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of new economic activity. So I've tried to be very specific about what we can and should do, and I am determined that we're going to get the economy really moving again, building on the progress we've made over the last 8 years, but never going back to what got us in trouble in the first place.
Mr. Trump.
She talks about solar panels. We invested in a solar company, our country. That was a disaster. They lost plenty of money on that one. Now, look, I'm a great believer in all forms of energy, but we're putting a lot of people out of work. Our energy policies are a disaster. Our country is losing so much in terms of energy, in terms of paying off our debt. You can't do what you're looking to do with $20 trillion in debt. The Obama administration, from the time they've come in, is over 230 years worth of debt, and he's topped it. He's doubled it in a course of almost 8 years, 7.5 years to be semi-exact. So I will tell you this, we have to do a much better job at keeping our jobs, and we have to do a much better job at giving companies incentive to build new companies or to expand, because they're not doing it. And all you have to do is look at Michigan and look at Ohio and look at all of these places where so many of their jobs and their companies are just leaving. They're gone. And Hillary, I just ask you this. You've been doing this for 30 years. Why are you just thinking about these solutions right now? For 30 years you've been doing it, and now you're just starting to think of solutions.
Well, actually,
I will bring back jobs. You can't bring back jobs.
Well, actually, I have thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah, for 30
and
years.
I have, well, not quite that long. I think my husband did a pretty good job in the 1990s. I think a lot about what worked and how we can make it work again.
Well, he approved
3 million
NAFTA.
new jobs,
He approved
a balanced
NAFTA,
budget,
which is the single
and
worst trade deal ever approved in this country.
Incomes went up for everybody. Manufacturing jobs went up also in the 1990s, if we're actually going to look at the facts. When I was in the Senate, I had a number of trade deals that came before me, and I held them all to the same test. Will they create jobs in America? Will they raise incomes in America? And are they good for our national security? Some of them I voted for. The biggest one, a multinational one known as CAFTA, I voted against. And because I hold the same standards as I look at all of these trade deals. But let's not assume that trade is the only challenge we have in the economy. I think it is a part of it, and I've said what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a special prosecutor. We're going to enforce the trade deals we have, and we're going to hold people accountable. When I was Secretary of State, we actually increased American exports globally 30%. We increased them to China 50%. So I know how to really work to get new jobs and to get exports that help to create more new jobs.
Well, you haven't done it in 30 years or 26 years.
Well,
any number you
I've
want to
been
do.
a senator,
You
Donald,
haven't done it.
And
you haven't
I
done
have
it.
been a
And
Secretary of State, and I have
Your
done
husband signed
a lot.
NAFTA, which was one of the worst things that ever happened
Well,
to the
that's your
manufacturing
opinion.
industry.
That is your
You go to
opinion.
New England, you go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, you go anywhere you want, Secretary Clinton, and you will see devastation where manufacturing is down 30, 40, sometimes 50%. NAFTA is the worst trade deal maybe ever signed anywhere, but certainly ever signed in this country. And now you want to approve Trans-Pacific Partnership. You were totally in favor of it. Then you heard what I was saying, how bad it is, and you said, I can't win that debate. But you know that if you did win, you would approve that, and that will be almost as bad as NAFTA. Nothing will ever top NAFTA.
That is just not accurate. I was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what...
Was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard...
Was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
Well, Donald, I know you live in your own reality, but that is not the facts. The facts are, I did say I hoped it would be a good deal, but when it was negotiated, which I was not responsible for, I concluded it wasn't. I wrote about that.
So is it President Obama's fault? Is it President Obama's fault?
Even announced. Look, there are
Secretary, is it President Obama's fault?
There are
because he's pushing it.
There are different views about what's good for our country, our economy, and our leadership in the world. And I think it's important to look at what we need to do to get the economy going again. That's why I said new jobs with rising incomes, investments, not in more tax cuts that would add $5 trillion to the debt.
But you have no plan.
Oh, I do.
Secretary,
in fact,
you have no plan.
A book about it. It's called Stronger Together. You can pick it up tomorrow.
That's about all you...
Folks,
at the bookstore or at an airport near you.
We're going to move to...
But it's because I see this. We need to have strong growth, fair growth, sustained growth. We also have to look at how we help families balance the responsibilities at home and the responsibilities at business. So we have a very robust set of plans, and people who have looked at both of our plans have concluded that mine would create 10 million jobs and yours would lose us 3.5 million jobs and explode
You are
the
going
debt,
to approve one of the
which
biggest
would
tax
have
cuts
a
in
recession.
history. You are going to approve one of the biggest tax increases in history. You are going to drive business out. Your regulations are a disaster, and you're going to increase regulations all over the place. And by the way, my tax cut is the biggest since Ronald Reagan. I'm very proud of it. It will create tremendous numbers of new jobs. But regulations, you are going to regulate these businesses out of existence. When I go around, Lester, I tell you this, I've been all over. And when I go around, despite the tax cut, the things that business and people like the most is the fact that I'm cutting regulation. You have regulations on top of regulations, and new companies cannot form, and old companies are going out of business, and you want to increase the regulations and make them even worse. I'm going to cut regulations, but I'm going to cut taxes big league, and you're going to raise taxes big league. End of story.
Let me get you to pause right there, because we're going to move into the next segment. We're going to talk taxes.
That can't be left
Please,
to stand.
Take 30 seconds, and then we're going to go on.
I kind of assumed that there would be a lot of these charges and claims. And so we have taken the homepage of my website, HillaryClinton.com, and we've turned it into a fact checker. So if you want to see in real time what the facts are, please go and take a look. And
take a look at mine also, and you'll see.
Not add a penny to the debt, and your plans would add $5 trillion to the debt. What I have proposed would cut regulations and streamline them for small businesses. What I have proposed would be paid for by raising taxes on the wealthy, because they have made all the gains in the economy. And I think it's time that the wealthy and corporations paid their fair share to support this country.
Well, you just opened the next segment.
Well, look, could I just finish?
Actually,
I think I should.
I'm going to give you a chance right here. With the
and
new
you take a look at her website. She's going to raise taxes $1.3 trillion.
Mr. Trump,
and look at her website. You know what? It's no different than this. She's telling us how to fight ISIS. Just go to her website. She tells you how to fight ISIS on her website. I don't think General Douglas MacArthur would like that too much.
The next segment, we're continuing the subject of...
Well, at least I have a plan to fight ISIS.
No, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do.
No, we're not.
See, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do. No wonder you've been fighting. No wonder you've been fighting ISIS your entire adult life.
Folks, go to the fact checkers. Get to work.
You are unpacking a lot here, and we're still on the issue of achieving prosperity. And I want to talk about taxes. The fundamental difference between the two of you concerns the wealthy. Secretary Clinton, you're calling for a tax increase in the wealthiest Americans. I'd like you to further defend that. And Mr. Trump, you're calling for tax cuts for the wealthy. I'd like you to defend that. And this next 2-minute answer goes to you, Mr. Trump.
Well, I'm really calling for major jobs because the wealthy are going to create tremendous jobs. They're going to expand their companies. They're going to do a tremendous job. I'm getting rid of the carried interest provision. And if you really look, it's not a tax. It's really not a great thing for the wealthy. It's a great thing for the middle class. It's a great thing for companies to expand. And when these people are going to put billions and billions of dollars into companies, and when they're going to bring $2.5 trillion back from overseas, where they can't bring the money back because politicians like Secretary Clinton won't allow them to bring the money back because the taxes are so onerous and the bureaucratic red tape. So what is so bad? So what they're doing is they're leaving our country, and they're, believe it or not, leaving because taxes are too high and because some of them have lots of money outside of our country, and instead of bringing it back and putting the money to work because they can't work out a deal to, and everybody agrees it should be brought back, instead of that, they're leaving our country to get their money because they can't bring their money back into our country because of bureaucratic red tape, because they can't get together, because we have a president that can't sit them around a table and get them to approve something. And here's the thing. Republicans and Democrats agree that this should be done. $2.5 trillion. I happen to think it's double that. It's probably $5 trillion that we can't bring into our country, Lester. And with a little leadership, you'd get it in here very quickly, and it could be put to use on the inner cities and lots of other things, and it would be beautiful. But we have no leadership. And honestly, that starts with Secretary Clinton.
All right, you have 2 minutes on the same question to defend tax increases on the wealthiest Americans, Secretary Clinton.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not? Just join the debate by saying more crazy things. Now, let me say
there's nothing crazy about not letting our companies bring their money back into their country.
This is Secretary Clinton's 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, well, let's start the clock again, Lester. We've looked at your tax proposals. I don't see changes in the corporate tax rates or the kinds of proposals you're referring to that would cause the repatriation, bringing back of money that's stranded overseas. I happen to support that. I happen to support that in a way that will actually work to our benefit. But when I look at what you have proposed, you have what is called now the Trump loophole, because it would so advantage you and the business you do. You've proposed an approach that has a $4 billion tax benefit for your family. And when you look at what you are proposing,
how much for my family?
It is, as I said, trumped up trickle down. Trickle down did not work. It got us into the mess we were in 2008 and 9. Slashing taxes on the wealthy hasn't worked, and a lot of really smart, wealthy people know that. And they are saying, hey, we need to do more to make the contributions we should be making to rebuild the middle class. I don't think top-down works in America. I think building the middle class, investing in the middle class, making college debt-free so more young people can get their education, helping people refinance their debt from college at a lower rate. Those are the kinds of things that will really boost the economy. Broad-based, inclusive growth is what we need in America, not more advantages for people at the very top.
Mr. Trump,
typical politician, all talk, no action, sounds good, doesn't work, never going to happen. Our country is suffering because people like Secretary Clinton have made such bad decisions in terms of our jobs and in terms of what's going on. Now, look, we have the worst revival of an economy since the Great Depression. And believe me, we're in a bubble right now. And the only thing that looks good is the stock market. But if you raise interest rates even a little bit, that's going to come crashing down. We are in a big, fat, ugly bubble. And we better be awfully careful. And we have a Fed that's doing political things. This Janet Yellen of the Fed. The Fed is doing political by keeping the interest rates at this level. And believe me, the day Obama goes off and he leaves and he goes out to the golf course for the rest of his life to play golf, when they raise interest rates, you're going to see some very bad things happen because the Fed is not doing their job. The Fed is being more political than Secretary Clinton.
Mr. Trump, we're talking about the burden that Americans have to pay, yet you have not released your tax returns. And the reason nominees have released their returns for decades is so that voters will know if their potential president owes money to, who he owes it to, and any business conflicts. Don't Americans have a right to know if there are any conflicts of interest?
And they pocketed the money through their Clinton Foundation. That is not working for your money. That is stealing from your own country for the very people that entrusted you to do the right thing. You know, Donald Trump and I have a lot in common. We believe in states' rights. We believe that Common Core is not right for our students. And I am so glad that he is our nominee and he is going to win this election because we are going to get rid of Common Core in our country and our state. You know, there is no need for the federal Department of Education. So the Department of Education and the federal government needs to be eliminated. And I believe that Donald Trump will make that happen. We believe in the Second Amendment. Every person in this country has the God-given right to protect themselves from harm. We believe in our veterans. We believe that veterans that have fought for our country, they have fought for our freedom, that they deserve the utmost respect and they deserve the very best health care that this country. We believe in law and order. Our policemen that put their lives on the line every single day, when they put that uniform on to go out and protect us, they need to know that we are going to have their back. We believe that people should come here legally. People that come here illegally do not deserve any of the incentives. You know, I truly do, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart.
At this time, it is my honor to introduce Ron Thomas. Ron is a retired deputy inspector from the New York City Police Department. He has had a 30-year career in law enforcement that including reducing narcotics in targeted neighborhoods, investigating police misconduct, patrol management, and other public service in policing. A big Florida welcome for Ron Thomas.
How y'all doing? My fellow deplorables. You know who I am. I was already introduced to you. I want to tell you that I'm here to speak about our great new American movement, championed by our next president, Donald J. Trump. You know, when I was in New York, a lot of people used to look at me and say, you play basketball? I don't know why, but I don't. And a lot of people used to look at me and say, are you a distractor cat? I said, a crat? I said, no. Or a Democrat, I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not that either. But what I am is an American civil service servant. So I'm here and I'm proud to speak to you about a great American patriot, a true citizen patriot, a businessman, not a politician. You know, we're so blessed to be part of this new American movement led by our champion, the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Now, ask yourself, as a businessman, what does that mean? Well, in policing, I can tell you, it means results. See, Mr. Trump is not a person that gets mired down in red tape and talk and never gets anything done. Mr. Trump is a doer. Mr. Trump produces results. I mean, isn't that what we want? Mr. Trump is a builder and a problem solver. And it's evidenced across this country and the world. Mr. Trump is a fighter, and with our votes on November 8th, he will now fight for us. Mr. Trump is a uniter, and he will reignite the American dream. Mr. Trump will restore faith in the can-do American spirit for all Americans. Mr. Trump is our champion, the champion of our new great American movement. Now, Mr. Trump volunteered for us. You know, he don't have to do this. He can sit back and relax, stand on the sidelines. But at this crucial time, Mr. Trump has jumped in all the way. Mr. Trump is for America, like the rest of us deplorables are. And as he has told us, he is not running for the president of the world. Mr. Trump is running for us, and I do mean U.S. Mr. Trump is running for president of the United States. Mr. Trump will fix problems as he's done in New York and elsewhere. Mr. Trump sees solutions where career politicians only see and maintain problems. Now listen, don't get it twisted. In order to solve problems, you got to acknowledge them. You got to define them. All right? You can't dwell on those problems. Mr. Trump offers opportunities to all Americans, rich and poor, women, men, black, white, gay, straight, Muslim, Christian, Hispanic, Jews, humble and the not so humble. Mr. Trump offers greater security, especially in our inner cities, and in our war on radical Islamic terrorism. Mr. Trump will create good jobs. That's his history, guys. That's his track record. That's what he does. And you can believe that. So now, folks, the clarion call goes out. The movement, Mr. Trump, needs you to help him help you. Will you do it? Mr. Trump needs you to go back and reach out and talk and have conversation with your friends and your family, your neighbors, strangers, all the people you like, and guess what? All the people you don't like. All right? We have about a month to reach out, feel out, spread our message of a new American movement and the marvelous God-sent champion in the person of Donald John Trump. Will you do it? Can the movement, can Mr. Trump count on you? It's time to unite with all Americans and send our champion to the White House in 2017. Can we do it? Will we do it? So listen, go tell them. If your neighbors want change, Mr. Trump is the only change agent. If your family members want peace and security, Mr. Trump is our law and order president. If your children want prosperity, Mr. Trump is the wealth-creating president. If your friends want greater opportunity for their children and grandchildren, Mr. Trump will return school choice locally again and create jobs. If you know anybody who loves this country, I love America. I love America. I put my life on the line for America a lot of times. No big deal. I do it tomorrow. No big deal. I'll do it tonight. If you know anybody who loves America, the choice is clear, guys. It's crystal clear. Our new American movement has defined the time, and by the grace of God has given us a champion, a true leader who truly loves our country. No more political hack packs. So now ask yourself, what will you say when you're asked, what did you do during this pivotal time in American history? Like a launch window at the Space Coast, this is our window of opportunity. Now, November 8th, and early voting. Folks, this is history in the making. It's time to get America back on track. So you know what? I'm a humble police servant from New York, but I'm now a Floridian. This is my home. Too cold to go back up to New York. Ain't no beaches up there like this. So I want you all to do me a favor. I'm asking you, will you go out and get the vote for our champion, for your champion? You got to go out and get that vote. Many good people have been misled by the clever distractocrats. I got it right that time. Distractocrats. So you got to talk to them. Our problems don't have to persist. There's a solution maker in the wings. Remind them, for new things to come, the old has to go. For new things to come, the old has to go, and it ain't going to go without a fight. So as we prepare to meet and greet Mr. Trump, who chose to visit us first after his debate victory last night, be clear. Listen, be clear. This is it. This is it. Okay? This is it. We need votes. We need votes, folks. We need the vote of straight Americans. We need the vote of gay Americans. We need the vote of rich Americans. We need the vote of poor. There's an NYPD shirt out there. We need the vote of Christian Americans. We need the vote of Muslims. I got to get off. Females, males, blacks, whites, all Americans. We can put a can-do president in the White House. We are the ambassadors of the new American movement. You got to go out and get that vote. Thank you very much. Keep on trumping.
Okay, everybody, I have a quiz. It is a one-question quiz, and I think everyone in this room is going to get 100. Do blue lives matter? The man to my left and the men to my left really need no introduction. I'm not even going to bother reading the bio because you all know who he is. Everybody, a big round of applause to the great sheriff of Brevard County, Mr. Wayne Ivey.
Good evening, everybody. Come on, we're in Brevard County. It's a beautiful night. We are about to get to welcome the next President of the United States. Now that's a good evening right there. Well, I'm going to start where I start every time, and that is to first say thank you for allowing me to serve as your sheriff. I truly love this job. I also want to take a minute and thank you for all of the support you give our incredible law enforcement officers, all of them that work each and every day to protect you and your families. The ones that are in the audience, the ones that are on the stage. I have Chief Wiley of West Melbourne with me. Give him a big round of applause. All the way from Liberty County, I have Sheriff Nick Finch that's with us. Right behind me, retired FBI agent and most recent Hall of Fame recipient, Brevard County, Bob Waller. To my left, your right, I have Sheriff Gordon Smith out of Bradford County. And Chief Mark Rankins of the Palm Bay Police Department. Give him a big round of applause. I'm also going to ask just for a second for everybody to put their signs down. And if you are a law enforcement officer that's either seated up on the top, over here is a great group of our law enforcement officers, or in the audience, or one of our military, raise your hand up for me so everybody can thank you. As I tell everybody, we are truly blessed to serve as law enforcement officers in Brevard County, where our citizens love us, they trust us, and they protect us just like we love, trust, and protect them. Do we need paramedic? Paramedic just off to the left of the podium, right where the signs are being held up. Paramedic, please. If everybody can kind of clear the area so that the paramedics can get in. All right. I'm being told from the front to introduce Chief Wiley again. Apparently this is his fan club. So give him another round of applause for Chief Wiley of West Melbourne. So the great thing about being sheriff, actually there's a lot of great things, but the greatest thing is that you are expected to say and do what needs to be said and done to protect your citizens. So I'm going to challenge you to hold on because it's about to get real up in this hangar with what I'm about to say. The White House has fallen, and it has crumbled, and it has taken the foundation of our country with it. Tonight, we are part of a nationwide movement to rebuild the character of the White House. A nationwide movement that starts brick by brick, vote by vote. A nationwide movement to elect Donald J. Trump as our next President of the United States. Now, somebody told me the other day, they said, it can't get much worse up in Washington. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. There is no doubt about it. In fact, it could get a lot worse, folks. And that's why it's important that we put Donald Trump in the White House so that he can protect us. The next President of the United States, the next occupant of the White House has to understand that government's one and only responsibility is to protect its citizens. That's why myself and thousands of other law enforcement officers across this great nation have stepped out on the ledge and proudly support Donald Trump to be our next president. I've been a cop for 37 years. Still, paramedics are needed in that area right there. I think we have them. I think they're there. I've been a law enforcement officer for 37 years, and I've never seen a time like we face in our country today. A time where a small group think it's okay to verbally and physically target law enforcement officers. I'm proud to tell you that they're a small group and that the overwhelming majority of our citizens love us and trust us, and we love and trust you. Now more than ever, we need a president that stands with those who protect our community and those who protect our country. And Donald Trump is that man. Now, I could stand up here all night and talk to you about why we need Donald Trump as president. But I'm going to give you a snapshot because I believe Mr. Trump is about ready to come on this stage, and you came here to see him, not me. So I'm going to break it down for you like this. This race, you hear a lot of people talking about terrorism. While it's profound and important to our country, I trust our military, our generals, who also, by the way, have endorsed Donald Trump, and our law enforcement officers to protect us. You hear about the economy and you hear about jobs. Well, quite frankly, this is about just a few jobs. The next few Supreme Court justices that will be appointed to protect our Second Amendment and our Constitution. It is time for Donald Trump to step to this stage and get your vote for the next president of the United States. Thank you, everybody.
Is it a great day to be a Republican in a great state of Florida? Is it a great day to be a deplorable in the great state of Florida? Are you ready to make Florida red again? Are you, my friends, ready to make America great again? Are you all ready to work hard and make Donald Trump the next president of the United States of America? Mr. Trump will be here shortly. God bless you and God bless America.
Oh, wow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what a group. And we have 12,000 people outside that still can't in. We're going to get them out on the runway. We'll put them out on the runway. We have 12,000 people outside. It's incredible. They're coming in. Look at this. Oh, we are going to win Florida so big. It'll be amazing. This is a movement like they have never seen before. Never. Last night was very exciting, and almost every single poll had us winning the debate against crooked Hillary Clinton. Big league. Big league. She is as crooked as they come. And I'll tell you what, check out, we put them out today, almost every poll. So that was an exciting evening for me, folks. That was an exciting evening. And it set the all-time record for debates and maybe television. Who knows? Look at this crowd. Look at this. This is amazing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'll tell you what, is there any place more fun or safer to be than at a Trump rally, right? Right? We're going to take on the special interests, the lobbyists, and the corrupt corporate media right back there. They are corrupt as you can get. You know, the single weapon that Hillary Clinton has, I mean, she couldn't even pass her bar exam in Washington, D.C. She failed it. The single weapon that she's got is the media. Without the mainstream media, she wouldn't even be here, folks. That I can tell you. She wouldn't even be here. She wouldn't have a chance. So we're going to create a new government that serves you, your family, and your country, and it's going to be the kind of government that you've been looking for a long time. You know, I was in the plane, and I came in, and we said, wow, but we do have these crowds elsewhere. But they said the fire marshal closed us down, won't let 12,000 people in. But then when I looked at this, I said, now I understand. Where's the fire marshal? Fire marshal, let him in, please, okay? Let him in. Let him in, fire marshal. Let him in. Our country is filled with so many amazing people, people who lift us up and inspire us. And by the way, I have one of them here. Where's Rudy Giuliani? Rudy! Rudy! We love Rudy. Look at him. Look at him. He's a good man. We lost one great person in a heartbreaking accident on Sunday, Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez, and he was some pitcher. He died at the age of 24. I just spoke to Jeff, the owner of the team, who is heartbroken. It's a huge loss for the state, for the entire sport of baseball, and for all of the Americans who are so inspired watching him play at 24, just about as good a pitcher as there ever was, that age. So we send our deepest condolences to his wife and family during this very painful time. Our country also lost one of our truly great American icons, the King, Arnold Palmer. I was always very proud to call Arnold my friend. He was a truly great man. His legendary accomplishments on the course are well known. His fearless style of play, his love of the fans, and his working class charm made him an icon to legions of Americans. His accomplishment off the field was probably even greater, including his charity work and all of the thousands of lives that he's made better. Arnie was a symbol for America, and he will be sorely missed. Our thoughts also are with his loved ones. Ours is truly a special country, and we must never stop fighting to keep the American dream alive. Never. Never. Unfortunately, for too many Americans, the American dream is now out of reach. It's not working. Our country isn't working. So many things are going wrong. Last night, when I debated Secretary Clinton on America's future, for 90 minutes, I watched her very carefully, and I was also holding back. I didn't want to do anything to embarrass her, but I watched her, and she was stuck in the past. For 90 minutes, on issue after issue, Hillary Clinton defended the terrible status quo, while I laid out our plan, all of us together, to bring jobs, security, and prosperity back to the American people. For 90 minutes, she argued against change, while I called for dramatic change. We have to have dramatic change. We have to get rid of Obamacare. We have to strengthen up our depleted military. It's in such bad shape. We're going to do a lot of great things, folks. November 8th, you have to get out there and vote. You know, you've seen all the polls, and if you look, I don't just mean the debating polls. Those were things of beauty, one after one. Time magazine. Places don't even like me, although I have been on the cover of Time a hell of a lot lately, I will say this. But Drudge is, first of all, he's a fantastic guy, but Drudge, it was 80 to 20%, Trump, 80 to 20. But more importantly, when you look at the different polls, we're up 2 nationally in CNN. Most importantly, you look at the states. We're leading in Florida. We're leading in Ohio. We're leading in Iowa by a lot. We're leading in North Carolina. We have states that don't normally think in terms of Republican, which is us. It's us. Don't call us anything. It's just us. You know what it means? It means common sense. It means bringing civility back to our country. It means law and order and protecting our police and being very careful with everybody else. But I watched last night. I found it so interesting. I knew I was going into a situation where you were going to have one of the largest audiences in the history of television. And I took a deep breath and I pretended I was talking to my family. It's very interesting. You just block it out. Very interesting. And she was talking about what she's going to do to get rid of ISIS, what she was going to do on child care, what she was going to do on all these different things. And I kept saying, for 26 years, you've been doing nothing. Nothing. For 26 years, she's done nothing. You know, when she ran for the Senate in New York was having a big problem keeping jobs because her husband signed NAFTA. And NAFTA was draining the jobs out of our country, going to Mexico and other places, but NAFTA was a disaster. Probably the worst trade deal ever signed by anybody, anywhere in the world, okay? NAFTA was a disaster. She promised, running for the Senate years ago, 200,000 jobs for upstate New York. It was a disaster. Not only didn't they come, but they lost so many jobs, and you have to see it now. It's so sad when you see what's happened to upstate New York. It is a disaster. The companies have left and gone to Mexico and other places. The jobless situation is horrible. And she said she was going to do something about it. And the day after the election, it was like, bye-bye. And that's exactly what would happen if she ever won. Ooh. Folks, we can't let that happen. We know her too well. We know her too well. She's the candidate of yesterday, and ours is the campaign, and we're the people of the future. Hillary Clinton defended every major failure that she helped to create. She defended the Iran deal, one of the worst deals ever. She defended her role in unleashing ISIS. She is responsible, along with Barack Obama. They created a vacuum by getting out of Iraq, which they should have never been in the first place. And does everybody believe me? I was against going into Iraq. And it's so well documented, and Sean Hannity is now saying he was absolutely against it, and nobody wants to call him because they don't want to hear that. But she defended the conditions of our inner cities where African American families are living in a situation that nobody should be forced to live in. And what's happened is government led by Democrats should be ashamed of themselves. I explained how she's been there for 30 years and hasn't fixed anything. It's all talk, no action, typical politician. In fact, her only experience has been at failure. Look at everything she's touched has been failure, just about one failure after another after another. She bragged about how she traveled all over the world. And that's true. She traveled all over the world. And you know what it got us? Nothing. Nothing. It got us debt, and it's got us death. We have death and debt and unemployment. We have all bad things. And I said last night, I said, you know, Secretary, you are experienced, but it's bad experience because everything you did turned out bad. The price tag in the Middle East has been $6 trillion. We could have rebuilt our country 2 times over and maybe more than that. Iraq, Libya are in chaos. Iran is on the path to nuclear weapons. All they have to do is sit back for 9 more years, and they're going to have all the nuclear weapons they want. How stupid a deal is that? How about the $400 million in cash that they shipped, right? How about that? And then that turned out to be wrong. It turned out to be wrong. It was $1.7 billion in cash. Who ever heard of this? Radical Islamic terrorism is spreading everywhere. It's spreading everywhere. We have a president who won't even issue the term. We have a former Secretary of State who doesn't want to mention the term. They're allowing people to come into our country by the thousands and thousands and thousands, and we don't even know who the hell they are. You watch. You watch. Here in America, we've seen one Islamic terror attack after another. We've seen the horrors visited upon Orlando with the attack on the Pulse nightclub, the worst mass shooting and the worst attack ever on the LGBTQ community in our history, the worst in our history. We've seen the recent terrorism in New York, New Jersey, Minnesota, San Bernardino. Before that, I mean, these attacks are going on endlessly all over the world, not just in our country, and they're made possible by our extremely open, in our country, immigration system that's fostered by a president that doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And by a woman that I think is virtually incompetent, certainly as a Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. I mean, she is virtually incompetent. Yet Hillary Clinton wants a 550% increase in Syrian refugees and would bring in, think of that. Think of that. Hey, folks, listen. We got to make our country great again. We can't do it this way. We can't do it this way. Can't do it. And that's 550% above Obama's already high numbers. Something funny happened. You know, the dishonest press. Look at these guys. The dishonest press. And by the way, they're not showing this crowd. I go home, my wife said, "How was the crowd?" I go, "It was massive. You didn't see?" No, they always keep it right on your face. That's the only good thing about a protester. They always like to show protesters. But we don't have too many protesters. You know why? You know why? Because the Bernie protesters had spirit. And the Hillary protesters have absolutely no spirit. They're like, it's true. But the 550% is over and above the thousands and thousands of people coming in from Obama. She wants 550% more. And I used to say 500%. And the press called me out. They said, he's wrong. It's not 500%. I said, uh-oh, here we go. You know, here we go. I'm wrong. Was it a lie? You know the lie. They tell lies, you wouldn't believe it. When you want to prove something, you give them a paragraph and they'll put in a half a sentence and they'll say, oh, well, that's not correct. So they said it's wrong, 500%. And I said, well, what's the number? Well, it's 550%. I said, that's the first time that ever happened to me. She wants 550% more. Overseas, Russia and China, and certainly when you look at what's going on with Iran, with the circling our ships, with flying near our planes, with grabbing our 10 sailors, remember that not so long ago? They're all emboldened. Here we are with Iran. We give them all of this money back, $150 billion. We give them $1.7 billion in cash, which you can't even imagine what that looks like. And they hate us. They're emboldened because they know they're dealing with stupid leadership, folks. They know they're dealing with very stupid people. North Korea is more dangerous and defiant than ever. Syria, another catastrophe on Clinton's watch, is in ruins. And only 5 of the 28 member NATO countries are meeting their minimum defense spending requirement. Remember when I said, I like NATO, but you got to pay your bills. You got to pay your bills. You remember that? And then they said, oh, Trump doesn't like NATO. NATO's fine. But I said two things. It's obsolete because it has to take care of terror. And all of a sudden, they announced they're doing a new division on terror. Front page of the Wall Street Journal a few months ago. And I tell you, I don't want to be in a position where they say, isn't it terrible what he said? If I don't say that, believe me, NATO is not opening up a terror operation. Let's see how that one works. But I also said it's obsolete for that reason. I said they're not paying their bills. They got to pay their bills. They want us to defend them, and that's fine. But they got to pay their bills. And they can afford, most of them, to pay their bills. So right now we have 5 of 28 paying what they're supposed to be paying. How stupid are we? How stupid are we? And we love NATO, and we'll protect and we'll live with NATO. And they have to help us also. You know, these deals, these bad deals that we make, they are a two-way street. You do know that. Like the deals with Mexico. It's a one-way highway right into Mexico with our jobs and our money. I always say, we get the drugs, they get the money. Not anymore, folks. Not anymore. Not anymore, folks. We will build the wall 100%. We need the wall. 100%. Are you ready? Are you ready? And who is going to pay for the wall? They may not know it yet, but the answer is Mexico. So, it's one Clinton failure after another. What has Hillary Clinton accomplished for your family in the last 26 years that she's been doing this? Nothing. Nothing. Very negative things. It's been 30 years of disappointments on foreign policy, on domestic policy, on helping women, on helping children. She's done nothing. She had, in the Senate, she had a couple of name bills. She named a post office. I think she named a road. She named something. She did nothing. She was terrible. The only thing she succeeded at is helping her donors and covering up her crimes. That's what she succeeded at. In fact, her single greatest achievement, in my opinion, will go down as getting away with the horrible crime that she committed with her classified information and her phony email and her illegal servers, and getting away with that when nobody else has and lives have been destroyed. Let's see what happens. Last night, I talked about how we have the worst so-called recovery since the Great Depression. You know that, right? The worst recovery. I laid out detailed, specific plans for a new direction. The American people rendered their verdict. The post-debate polls, as I said to you, were so great. But we exposed Hillary Clinton's real position on NAFTA, which is, by the way, the single worst deal you'll ever see, and Trans-Pacific Partnership, another disaster that she lied about. She lied about, and they even finally said that she lied. I couldn't believe it. She called it the gold standard, and she would certainly approve it, routinely approve it. Her allies say that she will approve it if she ever gets in, and I'll tell you what, it will be a disaster for Florida and Pennsylvania and Ohio and every other place. It will be a disaster, and you can't allow TPP to happen. It will be a catastrophe. Nothing will be as bad as NAFTA, but this one will be close. A vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote for TPP and the destruction and continued destruction of American jobs. America's jobs are in deep trouble. Companies are moving all the time. As we stand here, companies are negotiating to leave our country and fire their longtime workers. If I become president, don't worry about it, folks. That's not going to be happening. Not going to be happening. And if a company wants to go and wants to fire all of their workers and move their plant to Mexico or some other place, and they make something, when they make that something and they want to get it over our now very, very strong, powerful border, the only way it's getting over that border, folks, is if they pay a nice, hefty tax. And when they know that, they're not leaving. When they know that, because that upsets the apple cart, they will not be leaving, believe me. And you know what? For the 2% of the companies that do leave, if it would even be that much, for the companies that leave, that's okay too, because we'll make as a country a hell of a lot of money as they pay that tax. But they're not going to leave. They're not going to leave. So just remember, and you know, some politician told me the other day, you know, Don, I've been doing this for 5 years, and nobody ever told me about that. How simple is it? How simple is it? I said, you never thought of it? We never thought in terms. You ever see where they want to give low-interest loans to the... They don't need the money. They want to give them low-interest loans. They want to do all sorts of things. They don't need it. You tell them, you want to leave our country. You want to take these people, fire all the workers, move to another country. You think you're going to make your product and just sell it back to us? Not going to happen that way anymore. Not going to happen. Now... And the nice part is, other than the small donor and a few people, relatively speaking, I'm funding my own campaign. I'm in this thing for a lot of money. I spent a lot of money. But the nice part is, I'm not like Hillary with the hedge fund guys all over the place and all these guys that will have total control of what she's doing. I'm working for you folks. I mean, it could be, who the hell knows what's going to happen. But November 8th is a big day. It's a big day. And today, we had something where I understand, through largely small donors and some others, we had the biggest day we've ever had because of the success last night of the debate. They raised almost $18 million today. Can you believe it? $18 million. Amazing. It's a lot. $18 million in one day. Think of that. And that was largely because of last night. I explained, you know the nice part? When they come to see me because they want to move a company to Mexico and they can't get approval, and they'll call and call, and the lobbyists will call and call, I may take their call, but I guarantee you they're going to get nothing, folks. They're going to get nothing. They're getting nothing. They're going to stay in our country. We're going to keep our jobs. We're giving massive, as you know, tax reductions, massive. Hillary Clinton is raising taxes big league. We're lowering taxes big league. And that's the way it is. So, and I explained last night Hillary's support for these massive tax hikes that she's giving. And they are massive, $1.3 trillion. And she wants more regulations, which will further destroy the jobs. Our regulatory situation is ridiculous. Our regulations are killing our companies and killing our jobs. Another topic I raised was the issue of debt. It took 233 years for the United States to rack up the first $10 trillion of debt. Trillion, think of that word, trillion. President Obama doubled the debt in less than 8 years. Congratulations. And as I said last night, What do we have to show for it? Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our schools are failing. Our jobs are leaving. And think of it. It's one thing we have too much debt, but at least it would be nice to have beautiful new highways, beautiful new roads, new bridges, new tunnels, new schools. We have everything. We haven't done anything. We've doubled our debt, and our country's a mess. Our airports are third world. Our airports, think of it, LaGuardia, LAX, Newark, Kennedy. These are third world airports. You take a look at these airports. So we doubled our debt, and our country's a mess. We're going to fix our country, okay? We're going to fix our country. I talked about the corruption and the incompetence of government, including giving citizenship to as many as 1,800 high-risk immigrants who should have been deported. You saw that last week. They had 800 people that were going to be deported. They were in line to be deported. Now, you got to be pretty bad to be deported from our country, right? They made a mistake or were corrupt. You know, nobody ever says that. And guess what happened to the 800 people? They became citizens. They became citizens. Is anybody in this magnificent room with 25,000 people, is anybody here that was one of those 800 people? Raise your hand. They became citizens. Okay. Then they said they made a mistake. They made a mistake. It wasn't 800, it was probably 1,800. How sad is this? How sad is it? It's so sad. It's so sad. So, by the way, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers, ICE, did you ever hear of ICE? Yesterday, they just endorsed Donald J. Trump, first time they've ever endorsed anybody. And the Border Patrol agents endorsed Trump also. So we have the Border Patrol agents. We have Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe. Boy, you talk about a guy who knows about borders. We have the ICE officers, but the Border Patrol, 16,500, they've never endorsed any presidential candidate ever before. The ICE officers have never endorsed, and they're incredible people. They're responsible for all of the interior immigration enforcement in the United States, and they want to do their job, but they're told to stand back. They want to do their job. They're amazing people. They called Hillary Clinton's immigration plan the most radical immigration proposal in United States history. These are the people that know what's happening. We also debated crime. The new FBI statistics show that homicide rose 15% last year in America's large cities, and that's the largest single-year increase in 45 years. How are you feeling, folks? Great? I explained that a policy like stop and frisk in Chicago, especially where it's going crazy, could save thousands of lives, just like it saved thousands of lives in New York City under Mayor Giuliani. Overwhelmingly, this will save African American and Hispanic lives, citizens who are entitled to the same protection as every other American. That's right. Every other American. You know, I say when I look at these inner cities and I see how bad they are, the crime is through the roof, the education is horrible, there are no jobs. Black youth, it's what's happening. And remember that Hillary Clinton calls them super predators, right? Super predators. That was her term. Super predators. But you look at African American youth with unemployment rates in the 50s. And I say to people, the poverty is at numbers that you wouldn't believe. And I say, what do you have to lose? I'll fix it. I say this to African American communities. What do you have to lose? Donald Trump is going to fix it. We're going to fix it. We're going to make it safe. They can't walk down the street. In many cases, they get shot. They get shot. Their children get shot and killed. And it's so sad. I will fix it. Just give me a chance. I also explained last night that stop and frisk is constitutional. The MC was arguing with me, taking up a lot of time. In fact, law enforcement conducts stop and frisk in cities every day. You have to do this. You have to do this. In Chicago, 3,000 shootings since January 1st of this year. 3,000. Of course you have to do it. It's based on the Supreme Court ruling Terry versus Ohio from 1968. Improving law enforcement is a matter of life and death and even survival for our country. So I mentioned thousands and thousands of people are being shot in different cities, Chicago being one of the worst. 60% of murder victims under 22 in this country are African Americans. We have to help them, and it is unacceptable. Man just said it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. 6,000 African Americans are victims of homicide in our country every single year. 9 more people, think of it, 9 more people were shot in Chicago yesterday. Yesterday. I will never back down. And that's true. Obama's hometown. I will never back down from trying to save American lives. Never. I will never back down from fighting to rebuild our inner cities. How much more violence must there be on our streets before Hillary Clinton abandons her scripted and rehearsed lines and speaks authentically for even 1 second about the real problems facing our nation? She just wants the votes, and then she's gone for 4 years. She's done an incompetent job. The trouble we have because of her and President Obama, you will not believe. All you have to do is open your eyes. Hillary Clinton has nothing to offer but the same tired defense of the same failed establishment. She's merely a vessel for her friends, the donors, and the special interests. Hillary Clinton's a representative for globalists. You know what globalists are? Who want to strip the jobs and the wealth from our country and give them to every other country. I'm not running to be president of the world. I'm running to be president of you and the United States. Hey, cameras, turn around and show this picture. Turn around. Go ahead. Go ahead, cameras. Turn around. Show this picture. All the way out to the runway. Show this picture, cameras. Show it up in that corner, way high up, cameras. I've dealt with a lot of dishonest people. I would say certain elements of the press are the most dishonest people I've ever dealt with. It's true. Most dishonest. I am for, and so are you, America first. My economic agenda can be summed up in 3 simple but very beautiful words. Are you ready? Jobs, jobs, jobs. We will cut your taxes and let you deduct the cost of child care. It's about time. We will reduce regulations and create millions of new jobs for our country. We will unleash American energy, adding trillions of new wealth for our workers. We are going to shrink our trade deficit and protect American manufacturing, which is being led to slaughter. Being led to slaughter. Florida has lost 1 in 5 manufacturing jobs since NAFTA. That's the economic legacy of Bill and Hillary Clinton, folks. The tax, trade, energy, and regulatory reforms I propose will create at least 25 million new jobs over the next 10 years, and that'll happen. Let me tell you what else we're going to do. We're going to repeal and replace the horrible Obamacare. Clinton, on the other hand, wants to expand the Obamacare disaster and put the government completely in charge of America's health care. Two other major reforms I'm proposing are school choice and ending of Common Core. We're going to end Common Core. I want every disadvantaged child in this country, including every poor Hispanic child in this country and every poor African American child in this country, to be able to attend the public, private, charter, magnet, or religious school of their choice. It's the great civil rights issue of our time. I will be a voice for freedom that includes freedom for people in Cuba. Cuba is it's not right what's going on. It's not right. How many people here are from Cuba? Tell me, raise your hand. I wanted to mention it. I wouldn't say it's a lot of people, but that's okay. But this afternoon, I spent a lot of time in Little Havana, an amazing place. President Obama made a one-sided deal with the Castros for nothing in return. Did you ever see this guy make a decent deal for this country? And you know what? Crooked Hillary will be worse. She's going to be worse than Obama, mark my words. She is going to be worse than Obama, and that's why on November 8th you can't let it happen. And we've got to win Florida. Hey, did you see these characters with the maps? The Electoral College? So about a month ago, there's it's a very small path for Trump. It's tough. It's tough as a Republican. But he's going, there's a very small path, very narrow. You lose like 2 votes and it's over. Then 2-3 weeks ago, somebody said, this is not good news. This is not good news. The path is getting a little bit wider. Today I'm watching, oh, wow. Now they're looking at all these paths. No, we're doing good, folks. We're going to do something that's never been done before. Never. And we're going to get rid of cricket. We're going to get rid of that crooked woman. She's a crooked woman. She's a very, very dishonest woman. So it was done by executive order, and I will lift that order unless we get the deal that we want, and that includes protecting the religious and political freedoms of the Cuban people and the release of political prisoners, right? Those who have suffered suppression. Is that correct? I think we have to do that, right? You have to ask for it. It's like in the Iran deal. They didn't ask for anything. They just said, we'll take it, we'll take it, we'll take it. And boy, have we emboldened Iran. You see the way they're treating us now? We gave them everything, and they treat us like dirt. Those who have suffered oppression know how precious freedom is, like the people of Cuba and Venezuela. My administration will be a voice against oppression in this hemisphere. Those who have lived in these countries also understand the dangers of corrupt politicians like Hillary Clinton, who use government power for personal profit. Bill and Hillary Clinton were paid $150 million for speeches to special interests since Bill left office. Bill Clinton was being paid to give speeches by many of the same people who had matters before the State Department while Hillary was Secretary of State. Clinton donors got favorable treatment and access to the State Department. It's called pay for play. Our Secretary of State can be bought or bribed or whatever you want to call it, or sell trades, government, favors, access. And I'll tell you, when that happens, our whole system is threatened, and we have to stop it on November 8th. Remember, when you're going to vote, don't vote for crooked Hillary. Just put it in your head. Crooked Hillary. She is a crooked one. America can never elect a candidate like Clinton who put her public office up for sale. Hillary Clinton tried to cover up her crimes by deleting 33,000 emails after a congressional subpoena and destroying her phones, some of them with a hammer. That's also why she lied repeatedly to Congress and the American people. She said she never sent or received classified materials. A lie. Such a lie. And that lie was proven over and over again. She claimed she used an insecure email for convenience, using only one device. Well, that turned out to be a total lie because she used multiple devices. Under penalty of perjury, she said she turned over all of her work-related email. But the FBI found she never turned over, including the discovery of 15,000 emails she failed to produce. Another crooked Hillary lie. She said she sent or received nothing marked classified. A total lie, and it was unmasked to the world. Our country is so embarrassed at what's just taken place. She said her server was secure, but we now know her server was completely insecure, and the FBI director said it could have been easily hacked. Then her aides took the Fifth Amendment, and her ringleaders were given immunity. And if you're not guilty of a crime, what do you need immunity for, right? Have you ever seen anything so corrupt in your life? Have you ever seen a greater embarrassment to our country? The people getting rich off the rigged system, the people who want nothing to change, and they don't want anything, they don't want it to change, are the people throwing their money at Hillary Clinton. She's an insider fighting only for her donors and insiders. I'm an outsider fighting for you. It's time, okay? It's time. Our campaign is about breaking up the special interest monopoly in Washington, D.C. We're trying to disrupt the collusion between the wealthy donors, the large corporations, and the media executives. They're all part of the same corrupt political establishment, all part of it. It's a political establishment that's corrupt. They go home, they go to the same restaurants, they attend the same conferences, right? And they have the same friends and connections. And they nod along when Hillary slanders you by calling you deplorable and irredeemable. You're deplorable. No. See, what she doesn't understand is that you're the greatest people on earth. You're not deplorable. The greatest people on earth. You're smart, you're sharp. You really want one thing. You want to make America great again. I mean, it's one thing you want. You want a strong military. You want to take care of your vets. You want to protect your Second Amendment. You want a great home. You want a great family. I mean, look, what are we doing? Government will start working for you again. Fixing things is what I do. Just look at my projects in New York and around the world where I've restored neighborhoods and built gleaming properties that have lifted up skylines and revitalized communities all over. We built a great company. We have built a great company. Really great company. Where others see problems, I see potential. That's what I do, and that's what I want to do for our country. I want to go into the neglected neighborhoods, the failing schools, the forgotten stretches of this nation, and unlock their potential for all of our people. So much. And the politicians aren't going to do it, folks. All they're going to do, and Hillary in particular, is say, we're going to do this. You'll never see him again. Just think of upstate New York. Just think of the lie that she made to the people of New York State. And it's a disaster. Right now, it's a disaster. And that's many years ago. Together, we can accomplish anything we want. But that means, very importantly, you need to show up and vote on November 8th. You have to knock on doors. You have to pick up your phone and call your friends. You have to campaign on the streets because you know what's going on in this country. A lot of bad things are going on. You have to spread the love that we have in this room to the people of our country. To beat the system, you have to lift up your voice, pound the pavement, and get out to vote. You have to do it. You got to get all your friends. Have to get your friends out. Check out our website. We have 41 days until this election. Can you imagine? I started this on June 16th, coming down the escalator in Trump Tower. And now we're down to 41 days. You remember we had 17 people, governors and senators. And one by one, and they said, but Trump has never done this before. They compared my experience to their experience. They had over 200 years experience. I had like 3 months. But that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. We have 41 days to make our country great again, to represent the world, because I will tell you, our country is being laughed at by the world. It's being laughed at by the world. Remember that. We have 41 days to make possible every dream you've ever dreamed for your country. You have one magnificent chance, and in my opinion, our last chance. It's never going to happen. What we have done with this movement, many of the pundits, Bill O'Reilly, many others, have said it's the single greatest phenomena they have seen in their political lives. They've never seen anything like it. The single greatest. We don't want to blow it on November 8th. We have one magnificent chance to deliver justice for every forgotten man, woman, and child in this nation. The arrogance of Washington, D.C. will soon come face to face with the righteous verdict of the American voter. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. This November, we're going to show the whole world that America is back, bigger and better and stronger than ever before. See that plane? See that plane? That plane was built in America. Now, that same company is going to start building these planes in China. I don't like it. I don't like that, folks. I see a lot of bad things happening there. Here is just some of what will happen starting January of 2017. I am going to lower your taxes by a lot. And Hillary is going to raise your taxes by a lot. Just check out her website. I'm going to eliminate every unnecessary and costly regulation. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to unleash American energy. We're going to end illegal and very dangerous immigration. We're going to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country, okay? We're going to save your Second Amendment. The NRA endorsed me, their earliest endorsement. I'm very honored. We are going to support the men and women of law enforcement. And we're going to appoint justices to the Supreme Court who will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. We will rebuild our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, highways, airports, schools, hospitals. We will rebuild our country, and we're going to put a lot of people to work. American cars will again travel the roads. American planes will soar the skies, and American ships will patrol our seas. American steel will send skyscrapers into the clouds. American hands will rebuild this nation, and American energy harvested from American sources will power our nation. And that means our miners. That means our miners. American workers will be hired to do the job. We will put new American steel into the spine of this country. I will fight for every neglected part of this nation, and I will fight to bring us together as Americans. With our incredible people, imagine what our country could accomplish if we started working together as one people, under one God, saluting one American flag. It's time to break with the bitter failures of the past and to embrace a new, inclusive, and prosperous American future. We have such potential. To every parent who dreams for their children, and to every child who dreams for their future, I say these words to you. I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. Our country will start winning again. Once more, we will have a government of, by, and for the people. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And yes, we will make America great again. God bless you. God bless you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. We hope that you guys enjoyed the rally. And if you guys haven't checked out the video that we uploaded this morning, make sure you can go and check it out. We'll appreciate it. If you are new to our stream, please hit that subscribe button and join the community. Also, hook us up with the thumbs up. And we have more Trump rallies coming up, so make sure that you guys stay tuned for those. We will be uploading a breaking news story. It'll either be tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm not 100% sure, but you guys are going to want to see this. Thank you very much, everyone. See you guys next time. But until then, peace.